Boruto Vortex Chapter 10 spoilers are out, the covers of Himawari and baby Kurama, and there's a couple major things that happen in this chapter, those mainly being Sarada vs Hidari, Kurama's explanation for his return, and Himawari's new power-up on the final page, as well as a couple other small things I thought were pretty interesting. Starting with Sarada vs Hidari, this is really just a super short and cool couple of pages. The fight is not at all concluded, we mainly just see some cool claw mark action from Hidari followed by a chidori at point blank range that Sarada manages to dodge and counter with her own chidori, which is pretty cool, and that's about it for the fight. The chapter simply isn't focused on these two characters yet, and that's okay. We're most likely gonna get more from Sarada and Hidari in the upcoming chapters, so I personally wouldn't hang your heads over it. Had they actually completely shifted the focus over to Sarada and Hidari, that would have taken away from the focus on Jura and Himawari in Team 10, which was still incomplete. So I prefer them continuing to focus on Jura and Himawari before switching the focus to Sarada and Hidari. So in regards to the Himawari and Kurama stuff, there currently aren't any translations for Kurama's explanation of his return, so I can't really talk about what Kurama says specifically, but I am glad that they addressed it immediately after Kurama returned to the story, rather than just glossing over it or waiting like 30 chapters to finally reveal it, because they could have written it so that Kurama literally just didn't know how or why he came back inside of Himawari, which would have made it a mystery that all the characters would have had to slowly solve together. Now in theory that might sound pretty cool and interesting, but then we would have had to wait a really long time for the reveal. In this case, we get the answer right off the bat. And now that I mentioned the mystery idea, I guess that wouldn't have been a bad idea. The one I really didn't want was for them to just gloss over it or explain it in a way that doesn't actually explain it. But from what I've heard, that shouldn't be the case. I should also note that based on the vibe I've gotten so far, it does appear as though this is the same Kurama as before, rather than a new one with a new personality that simply resembles the old Kurama. Now, before getting into probably the biggest reveal of the chapter, a couple smaller things I personally liked are the way Jura just casually broke Himawari's foot, which reminded me of Ishiki doing the same to Boruto's arm back in the Kawaki arc, the fact that Jura actually dealt a lethal blow to Inojin that may or may not have lasting consequences, which is actually kind of funny given that we talked about this exact topic on the Walkie Talkie podcast the other day, discussing the idea of someone on Team 10 dying, where Inojin seemed like the best choice since Shikanai is too important for other plot threads, and unfortunately, Chocho is too unimportant in the actual story to mean as much, whereas Inojin seems to have a deeper bond with Himawari that could actually mean something, although maybe not the deepest thing ever. In any case though, Jura is on demon time and I love it. The next thing I liked is Boruto hiding because he is genuinely afraid of Momoshiki taking over. I love this. I still think the end of part 1 should have played into this a lot more rather than it being a mid-time skip thing, but disregarding that, I like this a lot for the current story. We're introducing some internal conflict for Boruto, where he has to weigh his options and choose between facing Jura to save Himawari, and risking Momoshiki manifesting, which would also put Himawari in danger, or laying low and hiding to keep Momoshiki from manifesting, which then leaves Himawari in danger of Jura. He's basically in a no-win situation right now, and I really hope they continue to play with this throughout the rest of the arc, and I plan to make a video on this idea as well. And now finally, let's talk about the reason you probably clicked on this video in the first place, Himawari's transformation. Interestingly, Himawari's transformation bears resemblance to multiple Kurama transformations we've seen in the past. On one hand, Himawari's hair goes crazy and takes the shape of Kurama's tails, much like Kushina's transformation. However, Himawari seems to lack any sort of Biju cloak around her like Kushina did, which makes it most similar to part 1 Naruto's Chibi-Eye form that he used against Haku, Orochimaru in the Forest of Death, Kimimaro, and Sasuke at the Final Valley, where Naruto gets Kurama's red eyes, his whisker marks get thicker, and he grows fangs and claws. However, Kurama allegedly seems to talk a pretty big game about this power, so I feel like it should be stronger than just that wee little bit of Kurama's chakra Naruto was using way back in part 1, which then brings us to Baryon mode, which has a particularly noticeable black pigmentation around Naruto's eyes, fairly similar to what we're seeing with Himawari, although not as drastic as Naruto's. Furthermore, Naruto himself is actually not covered in a Biju cloak of chakra when he uses Baryon mode. His skin is just normal, where his outfit forms the Baryon mode cloak, but it doesn't cover his body entirely like a normal Biju cloak would. In Himawari's case, her hair would have to take the place of Naruto's outfit, and admittedly it doesn't have the same powerful appearance that Baryon Mode Naruto had, but it would explain why Kurama is talking such a big game right now, as that's actually a power that could matter right now. And it would also better relate to Damon's hype about Himawari's power, as Baryon Mode Naruto could theoretically be strong enough to catch Damon's interest too. However, if they went down this Baryon Mode route, they would need to explain how it's going to work differently in Himawari's case in order to mitigate the side effects Naruto had to deal with, most notably losing Kurama's chakra, or else Himawari would lose his power after only one use of it, which would be hilariously goofy and bad writing. It's also entirely possible that this will be a brand new power that nobody has ever used before. At the end of the day, a lot of this discussion is really just a matter of Ikimoto's art style, as we've never seen him draw Kushina's Biju transformations or Naruto's earlier Biju transformations to really compare the style to that of Himawari here, so I wouldn't jump to any firm conclusions about Himawari's power. I just wanted to point out some of these similarities. That's gonna do it for today's video though. I'll wait until the translations come out to do a live reaction to the chapter, and then I'll do a shorter chapter review when the Viz release comes out. So be on the lookout for those, but I wanna hear what you guys think. What do you think about the Sarada vs Hidari fight, Jura being on demon time, Inojin's potential death, Boruto being afraid of Momoshiki, Kurama's return, and most importantly, what are your thoughts on Himawari's new power? What do you think her new power will be, and what power from the past do you think it most closely resembles? Let me know in the comment section below, but that's a wrap on today's video, so thank you guys for watching until the end.
You're already under my genjutsu.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, like the video, check out my podcast channel, check out Peak Fiction, become a member, and hit the bell icon for notifications.
Sorry, Sasuke. Maybe some other time.
Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.